and welcome to another episode of the Be Fearless podcast. Today, I have a wonderful woman. She, for me, from my standpoint, she is a true warrior. She's a micro influencer. She's also a blogger, and she shares her story about overcoming alcoholism and mental illness in her mission to change the stigma about those situations in people's life. And with the end of just if we change the stigma, we can actually make a better place, and we can actually help other people recover. So that's how I see it. But for me, she's a true warrior because it's not easy to overcome alcoholism. I have friends that have gone through that, and I think that her story needed to be shared so we can help other people. Her name is Christina Kimbro, and here we have her.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
I am so happy to have you here. I've been following you for a while now on Instagram, and I love what you're doing. I think your
Thank
story
you.
needs to be heard everywhere.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It really does.
Yay. So tell the audience, where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, like a suburb, and then my husband is in the Navy, so we live in Virginia. We were just talking about that a little bit earlier. So
Awesome. So how long you been in Virginia now?
yeah, like 4 years.
4 years?
We love it. I love it. The weather here is so much better than the Midwest. It snows a lot less and it's much less cold.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree. I'm originally from Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
the less winter I can have, the better. So I completely understand. So tell me, because I ask everybody, what was your dream growing up?
I love this question. So fun. So it's kind of funny. I wanted at a young age to be a actress. Like I've just always loved to like speak and like be in front of people. I used to put on like funny plays with my family and direct them. But that didn't happen, but I kind of parlayed it and now I do public speaking. So it's not necessarily acting. And actually, this is related. I just started an improv class. I know it's so much fun. Like I
Awesome.
just kind of like, yeah, I like hit sobriety and recovery and kind of found myself. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to be an actress growing up. And like maybe I won't get paid to do it, but like let's just have fun. So I just started and I'm loving it. And then I will be doing my first show with like a group in a month. So
That's
so excited.
amazing.
Thank
Yes,
you.
congratulations. I love it. I love it. Now, tell us your story. I think your story needs to be heard because there's so many people. I have had friends with similar stories, and it's not, it's not to have a pity party, but it's always good to hear those stories so we know what people goes through, but most importantly, how they overcome, that type of situation. So tell us your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, interestingly enough, I grew up in a household without alcohol. So, I always say I'm kind of like that, like interesting black sheep in that sense. So, I didn't grow up around it.
Mhm.
Um, but I started drinking pretty heavily. Interestingly, I didn't drink until like college. And then it kind of took off from there. So, I drank pretty heavily for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm 32 now, and in January 2020, I decided to get sober. I hit a personal low. I got a new job. I showed up to that job intoxicated. Um, and I went on a bender for like 2 days, which I'd never done. And I just came home, and my husband was like, you need help. Like, I don't, we can't live like this anymore. And so I agreed. And I moved from Virginia back to my hometown of Cleveland to get sober. And it just so happened that I got sober during COVID, which was crazy.
I mean, it at the same time, it's like it's like all the contrary, because I have heard so many stories of people like going to alcoholism
Yes.
because they're being, enclosed and at home, and
Yes.
their life changed, and so many people lost their jobs. And
Yeah.
but your story is completely the contrary, and I love
Yeah.
it. So tell
Thank
us
you.
more. How was that process of
Yeah.
getting sober?
Yeah, so it's so funny you said that because I was talking to a friend about this yesterday and she's like, I think everything happens for a reason. And she's like, you got sober at the right time because then you started sharing about it, which is part of my story. So I've been sober about 14 months now. And um at the beginning, like at a month, I started sharing about that journey, but I moved home to Cleveland. And unfortunately, I remember thinking like, okay, I'll leave all, because I was in Virginia. I remember thinking I'll leave all the bars behind, like I will just get sober. But, when you move, your problems move with you.
Mm.
And so, unfortunately, for the month of January into early February, I just kept drinking at home and sneaking it and hiding it and like all this stuff. And I always love telling the last drink I ever had because it's funny in hindsight. But I asked my grandma. So my drinking had got so bad that my grandma had taken my keys and my debit card because I was sneaking and drink. I know. I agreed to it. Like if I moved in with her, it was kind of like the terms.
Yeah.
And I used to drink and drive. I share that because I think a lot of people do, but we just don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I asked her to drop me off at a Panera and I lied and walked to like a bar. I had like $5 in my pocket because she'd been giving me money to donate to AA, like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Uh-huh.
And I bought like 2 or 3 beers, flirted with the guy down the bar, got another couple beers. I know. She tracked me on my iPhone, found me, walked into the bar, was so nice, and just tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Do you want to go home?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And so I went home, and that was my last drink. I entered treatment the next day. And that was February 3rd, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I went to an outpatient, which just means you're like in intensive group therapy a couple times a week for a few hours, and I know that kept me sober. And then from there on, it was just a process of like working out and like therapy and all the
My
things.
God. Wow. So, how were things when you came out of the treatment facility? Like,
Yeah. So, yeah, it was crazy because everything was shut down. So I finished my treatment like March like 11th or 12th, and that was when in Ohio everything was shutting down, which I'm sure it was like across the country. And interestingly enough, it wasn't good, but in a way, it was like it was interesting. The bars were shut down. So for me, it was kind of nice because I used to be a bar fly. So even if I wanted to, like, I couldn't get alcohol and I lived with my grandma. So like, I wasn't going to be bringing it home. So that first month, I mean, the first month you're just kind of cleaning your brain out because you've been intoxicated for so long. So you're kind of just like coming down and learning how to just like physically live again without a substance. So yeah, that first month I would say was hard. It was just all about like not drinking, right? Just like going to AA, getting a sponsor, that kind of thing. And then I remember thinking, this is so hard. Like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be thinking about alcohol all the time. And then as it progressed, things just got easier, and not only easier, just better. Everything I've never been more happy than I am right now. And I can easily say that's because of recovery.
That's amazing. I mean, you are such a great example of that determination, what determination can do when
Yeah.
they really decide, okay, I need to change my life for the
Yeah.
better, and stick to the plan and just take it day by day. I love it. I love it. Now,
Thank you.
how are you came up with this mentality? Okay, I'm just gonna like share my story and blog about it.
Yeah. So, I have a background in journalism, like communication. So I've just always been naturally like a speaker and like a share. And I had been sharing. So I have bipolar 1 and generalized anxiety disorder. And I'd been sharing about that openly, online and speaking, but all the while secretly drinking. So yeah, so I had my Instagram account where I was openly being a mental health advocate, trying to end that stigma.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just remember, like, I hit a month sober and I was like, I don't want to hide this. Like, my audience doesn't know. And so I might as well just come out and share.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit different to share it a month. A lot of people wait longer and everyone's journey is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember also, like, I didn't see anyone that looked like me, like younger, like female, that kind of thing, in the recovery space. So I kind of just wanted to connect with other
Mm-hmm.
people. And it was just another way to hold myself accountable too, on like kind of a selfish level. But it was like, if I was saying I was sober online, I better stay sober. And so, yeah, I just opened up in a blog post and it just kind of took off from there. And then I received a lot of people saying, like, thank you for sharing. I'm struggling, or I have a spouse or a
Oh,
family
wow.
member. Yeah. So it turned out to be better than I could ever imagine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the good thing is that when we share our story, a lot of people, like, we are the first to say no, because probably there's nobody there that will
Yeah.
identify with me. But there's always somebody out there that needs to hear it, that is going through the same struggles that we are going through. How has been, since you share, how's not only the response from your audience, but how things have changed in your life?
Yeah, I mean, right. So at first, like I said, it was just an outpouring of support and love. And, my audience has grown, which has been such a blessing. And my life has just gotten so much better. I mean, I've been able to kind of turn it into a business with the influencing side of things, and then public speaking, and, like, well, not public, but on Zoom. you know,
I mean,
um,
we're in social media, we're public.
yeah, exactly. No, really. And it's been crazy. And so I've been able to just, yeah, like, turn it into a way to inspire others. And then recently I just made the decision to go back to school to be a therapist. So I'm in the process of applying for grad school. So, I mean, recovery just kind of, like, sobriety changed everything for me. I always say, because life just keeps going, right? Like, things are still hard. I still go through things, but now I know how to cope with things without alcohol. You
That's
learn how to,
amazing.
yeah, you learn how to take care of yourself without numbing.
Yeah, definitely. What was the other? I had like another question in mind earlier today, and I kind of like forgot it, right? But what have you ever thought about, like, write a book about your story? You need to put this in a book.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, like, on the list of things that I want to do for sure, because I also come from, like, a background of, like, childhood trauma and abuse. And so but I've healed from that and
Mm-hmm.
have relationships with the people that hurt me, and, like, we're in a healthy space. So yeah, I mean, it's 100% there. I think the big thing for me that I wanted to do first was just, like, hit a year sober. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Just so that way. Thank you. So I hit that milestone, and I am definitely in the process of, like, figuring out what that looks like and putting pen to paper. So you are on spot. That is definitely a goal.
Yes, I mean, like, I was thinking about that this morning when I always, like, wake up. This is my routine. Like, I wake
Yeah.
up and then I start, like, going through all the things that I'm gonna do during the day, and then if I have, like, an episode from the podcast that I'm gonna be broadcasting, then I kind of, like, start, like, thinking about my guest,
Yeah.
and, like, try to, like, picture out their lives, what they're going through, the story. And one of the things that I thought about you this morning was, like, she needs to put this into a book. Like, she needs to write
Yeah.
it down.
Thank
Because
you.
I mean, if your platform in Instagram, you're being able to help so many people, I can't imagine what you will do having this written down into
Thank you.
paper.
Well,
It's
you're
gonna be
inspiring me.
amazing.
You're
It's
inspiring me. Thank you.
well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like, there was another thing, another fun story before we move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody sent me a link today, and then I started, digging into, is this something that you do? And she was like, no, this is something that I like. I mean, from somebody else's. I was like, if you like it so much, why do you don't do it? Like,
Yeah.
you have to do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you like something like that, then try to find a way to create it and, work it so
Yeah.
it makes you happier.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's just one of those things where you're absolutely right. You do just have to do it, because I think we all have those voices in our head that says like, I'm like, a big one I dealt with is like, I'm not interesting enough. No one's gonna care about my story. And it's just not true. I feel like our
Mhm.
our brain is always lying to us about that
Yes,
stuff.
all the
So
time, all the
yeah.
time. Now, we already talk about, the good thing that happens and how, you got sober and all that, but talk to us about the obstacles that you had
Yeah.
to get sober. I mean, and how do you overcome?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say, oh my gosh, there were so many. I mean, I think the first one was just like before I got sober was like admitting I even had a problem. I think that is like that's the first step in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. They just say like you have to admit that you're powerless over alcohol. And so I tried for like 2 years, like on and off to get sober, but could never string together like more than a week or two.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, because I remember thinking, I don't have a problem. I'm fine. I didn't want to admit that I was powerless. So, yeah, I mean, 100%. That was the first obstacle, was just like admitting it. And then once I admitted it, was like just finding the right kind of treatment and figuring out where to go, and finding help. And then once you're trying to get sober, is just like the addiction part of things, of just like not having that drink.
Mhm.
And I would say I did it a couple different ways. I mean, community was huge. I definitely had like a good support system, whether it was a friend, my husband, my grandma, therapy. And I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but I had to take it a day by day, sometimes hour by hour. You know what I mean? Where it was
Yes.
like, okay, we want to drink. Like, what are we going to do other than drink? So sometimes it was running, walking. I think I walked so many miles just trying to take my time, like fill my time listening to a podcast, So,
Yes.
yeah, it was just a multitude of things.
You know what? I love what you said because it is, you talk about the obstacles you had through going through sobriety, but
Yeah.
there's not such a huge difference between those obstacles and our daily lives.
Yeah.
It's like, accepting that, I need to fix something in order to achieve a goal, accepting that, I have a problem, or that, I'm not managing my money in the best way, or like, I'm not paying attention to my family, or, working too much. And just realizing, I think that the first step that you just mentioned, it was like for you realizing that you had a problem. And I
Yeah.
think that that's the first step for everybody, in their daily life, to admit, I have a problem, I need to fix it. Not to try to patch things up in an attempt to, improve our lives. And I love it. I love the way that, you identify, pinpoint the things that were not helping, and how you twisted, tweak it, and like made the improvements in your life to change. And I love when you said, I had to take it hour by hour. And
Yeah.
sometimes in life, that's all it takes. You have to take it 1 hour
Yeah.
by
Oh my gosh.
another.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I love what you just said, because you made me think of it like recovery and sobriety. Like, it is 100% relatable to life. I always say that. I'm like, like I mean, yeah, like your problems don't stop when you get sober. It's just, I think what it's helped me do is like, it's definitely helped my ego, like bring it down and be like, identify like the issues that I'm having, and then realize like my grandma says this and I love it. There's always a solution. Like, whatever
Hmm.
problem you're going through, like you may not know it in the moment, but there's always a solution.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, yeah, like even in recovery, I still like have issues and, things that I'm working through, but recovery has shown me two things. Like, one, I can admit it, and two, I can do it.
Yes.
Like getting sober was like easily the hardest thing I've ever done, and I did it. So,
Yes. I love it. I love it when you say that I can do it. And yes, anybody that is listening to you can do it too. And I definitely encourage anyone out there to just follow you and get in touch with you and
Yeah.
listen to your messages. I love all your messages. I always
Thank
check in on your
you.
account because there's
Yeah.
always something that I find inspiring that I can relate to. And you truly are the soul of a warrior. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
Any final
absolutely.
words that you have for our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I try to tell everyone, and it's just like I have realized this in the pandemic and just kind of like in recovery, but like I say we're all kind of going through a collective trauma just because of the pandemic. But two things I like to say is be kind to yourself. So I think during this time, it's really hard. It's easy to say, like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should use this time more wisely. So be kind to yourself. But then on the flip side of that, be kind to others because I think, our tensions are high. We're all going through something. So if we can just be a little bit kinder to others, we will make the world a better place. So thank you.
Yes, I love it. That's so true. We need to spread the kindness.
Yeah.
Spread the kindness. Well, if but hold on one second. We cannot leave without telling them where they can reach out,
Oh,
right?
thank you.
What's
Yeah.
your Instagram handle?
Yeah. So my Instagram is just C Kimbrough, and that's KIMBROUGH1. And yeah, that's the best way. And I love it. I think you said it earlier. People can always reach out. I think that's one of the first ways I got sober was messaging like a couple other sober people and being like, how did you do this? So that's great. I love talking to people. And then the other one is just my website, ChristinaKimbrough.com. So
Amazing. So there you have it. ChristinaKimbrough.com and on Instagram, Kimbro, right?
yep.
Kimbro #1.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Christina,
Thank
for
you.
sharing and giving us your time today. I love your message. I do see great things coming from you in the future,
Thank
and I
you.
will love to read the book. So
Yes, I know.
keep
Thank
up,
you.
get
I'll put,
typing.
yeah, thank you. I'll put you in the intro and say she helped me start it. She inspired it.
Yes, yes. Come on, let's do
Thank
it.
you so
But
much.
thank you so much for being with us. And for everybody out there, don't forget that our podcast runs on Mondays and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to subscribe, follow the page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram. In the meantime, don't forget to unlock your potential and be
Love it.
fearless. Bye.
Bye.